This is the Basilica Santa Maria Maggiore, the Basilica of St. Mary Major. Scholars agree that this is one of the earliest churches here in Rome. It's one of the four so-called papal churches and one of the most significant in the Catholic Church. It's dedicated, as the name suggests, to Mother Mary, and indeed it might be the earliest such shrine dedicated to Mary, definitely in Rome, but also really in the world. Scholars believe that it was constructed sometime in the 430s AD, and specifically in the aftermath of the Council of Ephesus. Now, this is one of the early church councils that determined certain aspects of Christian orthodoxy, and specifically what was discussed at this council was whether or not Mary could be called the Mother of God, Theokotos in Greek. And so some believed that this was a legitimate term for her, others did not. And this, of course, boiled down to a certain Christological debate, whether or not the divine and human natures of Christ are separated from each other. And so what would become the majority of the church, orthodoxy, so to say, they believed that indeed Christ was, of course, fully human and fully divine, and thus that Mary was legitimately or could legitimately be called the Mother of God because of that. Another group believed that was an illegitimate position because they believed that the human and divine natures of Christ were somehow separated, and this was a position that was associated with a guy called Nestorius. And so even though it is, you can argue whether or not that's legitimately his position, that became the position associated with what became known as Nestorianism, which was a very popular form of Christianity. It still survives today in the so-called Church of the East, right? So this was the originating point when the Church of the East and the so-called Nestorians separated from the rest of the Church over precisely this question of the relationship between the divine and human natures of Christ, and therefore also the status of Mary as the Mother of God. And so it seems that the Pope at the time, after this council in 431, when Mary was declared to be the Mother of God, the Pope called for this church or this basilica to be built in honor of Mary. And so for that reason, it's very, very significant. It's a beautiful cathedral, or basilica, that contains many different chapels and significant relics. For example, right on the main altar, there is a place where it is believed that part of the manger that the infant Christ lay in is in fact in there, and there's a beautiful sort of shrine to that relic. The basilica also contains one of the most significant and famous icons of Mother Mary, called, at least in translation, the protector of the people of Rome, and it's an icon of Mary holding the child Christ with a Bible in his hand. And this is maybe the centerpiece, at least one of the centerpieces of this basilica. In this beautiful chapel, you can see that. I'll probably show an image of it on screen right now. So a very significant church, one of the most important basilicas here in Rome and really for the Catholic Church. So significant that the recently deceased Pope Francis chose to be buried right here. And there is a beautiful, very simple, bare bones burial that you can find there, very much reflective of his style as a pope. He would wear simple clothing. He lived a life of simplicity in imitation of Christ to some degree, but also St. Francis, of course. And that's definitely reflected in the burial place in there, dedicated to Pope Francis. And right now, of course, because at the time of recording this, he only passed about a month ago, I think, a bit more than a month ago. So it's still very fresh, and there are people coming here very much as pilgrims, specifically to visit and pay their respects to Pope Francis. So for all these reasons, this is an incredibly important and very beautiful basilica here in Rome, with an incredible history as well as a very significant present.